All right, everybody, welcome back to Outdoors Maryland. It has been quite a while, hasn't it? Today we are on Sugarloaf Mountain, and if you are from Maryland, specifically Central Maryland, you know this mountain. Just to give you a perspective, it is Monday at noon, and there are probably 50 to 75 cars in the parking lot, plenty more streaming in. I've been living in Virginia, so I figure, with it being Outdoors Maryland, you come here for outdoors content, but you come here specifically for outdoors content in Maryland. So if I'm not in Maryland, I can't film anything. Also, if you look on my water bottle here, Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park. Spent a couple days in Utah. Blast of a trip. Here's some pictures right here. Then after that, I spent a few weeks in New York just fishing my butt off, and I caught a bunch of fish. So here's some pictures of those here as well. But now we're back in Maryland. So we're gonna get back to filming, get back to some outdoor adventures, and we're gonna start off with a very popular hiking spot. Okay, so today is a solo mission. I figured I would just point to where we're gonna do some hiking today. So we're starting here in this West View parking lot. We're gonna make our way up to this short trail to the Green Trail to the main summit of Sugarloaf Mountain. This is the most popular spot, so there'll be a lot of people. Then from there, we're just gonna make our way to the Blue Trail and go to some less visited peaks here in the back. Down here to this White Rocks area. Hardly anyone ever goes back here. This place gets so much congestion that it closes on the weekends, but they all really only go right here. And then we're just gonna work our way back down to Westview parking lot. So it'll be interesting to see how bad the congestion is and to see if it kind of calms down once we get to the back of the mountainside. Okay, so only about a quarter to half mile. We're already at the main view here. So it makes this mountain so very, very popular. Very accessible, good view. Literally the closest mountain to DC. The view is actually a lot bigger that way. You can see it's very big and rocky, but I've come down from where all the main crowds are. So what you're looking at over there, that's the first ridgeline you see, the darker one, that's Catoctin Mountain. Behind that you have the Catoctin Valley, which is quickly growing as a Frederick, DC suburb. And the distant mountain you see is South Mountain. That's what the Appalachian Trail runs on top of. Beautiful view, beautiful day. Northern Peaks. This is the backside of the mountain now. So I've now climbed to the second tallest peak on Sugarloaf. If you look at Sugarloaf from afar, it's a series of 3 bumps along one ridge line. We are now on the second highest bump. There's no one out here. Beautiful, beautiful day. You can actually see the DC suburbs back there. That's probably Gaithersburg or Germantown. There's a closer look at that skyline over there. Right in between that dead tree, you can see some skyscrapers. So you can see we're really not that far away. So here we have our first herp of the day. Can you see it? It is a 5-lined skink. Where'd he go? There he is. See the little yellow stripes right in the center of the frame on the log? This is a beautiful male. Bright white stripes, beautiful blue tail. Hey, I was just wondering if anybody could tell me what trail this is. Geez, I mean, this is some Appalachian Trail level of blazing right here. Oh, look at this, folks. What a treat. Probably one of the most beautiful mountain flowers I think you can find in the Appalachian Mountains. The mountain laurel in full bloom. Very white one. Find them pink, purple. These guys are just so beautiful, and to me they just represent a good time, because anytime you find them, they're in the mountains, and if you find them in the mountains, that means you're in the mountains, which is always a good time. Just a beautiful flower. So there's an intersection where about 5 trails meet that I've just passed. It kind of marks the middle of the mountain versus the back of the mountain, and clearly a different story back here. Trails are very thin. You can tell they're definitely not used a lot compared to the front trails, and there's just these magnificent pine trees everywhere. Really cool. You don't see a lot of this habitat in Frederick County, so very beautiful. Pretty serious rock pyre here, so we'll do our part. Start growing this little guy down here. Here we are, everybody. White rock. Never been here before. I know this is like the second best viewpoint on Sugarloaf, the one that takes longer to get to, but look at that gorgeous view. Looking right over at Catoctin Mountain. Right there, you can see Frederick, Maryland down there. Braddock's Gap. Just beautiful. I'm gonna sit here for lunch and I'm gonna go over the history of this place for a little bit. Look at this view, y'all. This is probably about one of the most scenic history lessons you'll ever get. You know, if you watch these Outdoors Maryland videos, that I like to go over the history of the places that I'm at. And this place is very, very, very old. It is the easternmost mountain in Maryland. So as settlers moved west, this was the first mountain that they encountered. Not much of an obstacle because the surrounding farmland is really low and flat. So it's not like these mountains you see over here, which are really hard to get through. You had to find special gaps. But basically, the first settlers to come around here, I believe, were Dutch. They may have been German, some sort of Northern European settlers as they moved western. They saw this mountain and thought that it looked like a type of bread known as sugarloaf. This mountain has really round humps along the ridgeline, and if you look at a loaf of sugarloaf, it does sort of have that dome top, so they named it Sugarloaf Mountain. It's a very old mountain. It's called what I believe it's pronounced Monadnock. I might be wrong on that, but basically it's a mountain that's formed by erosion of the surrounding land, which is why it's so rocky. This is all granite and quartzite, so really, really hard rock. It's really erosion resistant, and it's taken millions and millions of years to erode to what it is today. It's 1,282 feet tall at the highest point, which is where we began. So really not tall of a mountain at all. But because it is the closest mountain to DC Baltimore, gets a ton of traffic. If you went to school in Maryland, then you undoubtedly had this fact drilled into you in like 4th, 5th grade when we all had to take the Maryland class. But this is Maryland's only mountain in the Piedmont Plateau. Basically, in Maryland, you have the Atlantic Coastal Plain, which is the eastern shore in southern Maryland, more or less. And then you hit the fall line, you have the Piedmont Plateau, which is sort of a flat rolling area before you hit the Appalachian Mountains. This is the only mountain in the Piedmont Plateau. Of course, that's not too much of a claim to fame because you can see behind me, Appalachian Mountains really aren't that far away, probably only about 10 miles to the west of us. So it's barely in the Piedmont Plateau, but that fact is drilled into us since 4th, 5th grade. It's one of Maryland's premier, most well-known mountains, I'd say. We actually have our second herp species of the day. Oh, he just moved. That is a broad-headed skink. Biggest lizard in Maryland. They're kind of all gray with a red head. It's actually the second one I've seen, but the first one I've been able to catch on camera. That is the song of an ovenbird, a fairly rare warbler species. There he goes. Let's see if he'll sing for us again. There he is. There he goes. Whereas on most mountains, you hike to the view and hike back down, even in the parking lot, you get a view. So stay tuned for the next video on Outdoors Maryland. See you next time.